Hello everyone, I'm Jenna. So today I'm going to be doing a review of a new RPG book that I got, which is really cool, and it's called Dancing with Bullets Under a Neon Sun. It's an awesome book, so let me show you. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but it has almost like a UV kind of metallic color and shine. Really nice. And then it has what looks like a metallic chrome style shine on the edges of the pages. Very nice. So now I'm going to show you over here what the different pages look like. So as you can see, this is the front cover. Again, beautiful artwork. It's just amazing. Honestly, I'm so impressed with this. It's the perfect color choice. I love the style. And the very first thing you see when you open the book is a general map of the location. You can see the numbers are it's very vector style, more of a vector map city, which is nice because it's a bit more abstract, but it's simple enough that you can understand what each thing means. And it's going to be easy for you to kind of have your own inspiration. It's not too specific with too many details that you can't be creative and kind of make your own game, if you know what I mean. So I think that's really nice. And it actually comes with like a table of each location. So this says like the name, what's there, what's the purpose of that place. So really cool and just really creative, as you can see. So here are the table of contents. I always love looking at the table of contents, and this one is very straightforward. With each chapter, it breaks down exactly what the setup of the game is, what the purpose is, what are the main mechanics, what about the characters, the admin, which is the name for the GM. So it kind of just talks about everything that you're going to need to know to run this game. And then the very last thing is just random tables, and there's a lot, which is really cool. So it's just a very good organization setup and easy to follow. So what is this game about? I really love the layout and the style that they have. I like their color choices, the different type choices, just everything, as you can see. This tells you what the game is about. So it's a cyberpunk style setting. So you're growing up in a city, and the city's always been there, and your family from generations have always been in the city. Everybody knows the city. They don't know anything before the city or obviously what's going to happen after. You just live in this big city and you explore it. You're trying to make money, trying to survive, just trying to make a life for yourself, maybe a family. It depends on your character. So it's pretty simple, simple enough to set up, have some goals, nothing too complicated. And the next part is talking about the mechanics. So how does the system work? It's very simple. So this was inspired by the Black Hack system. It's not 100% the Black Hack system, but it does have a strong influence, but there's other things. And really, the whole point is check. You have your skills, you have your attributes, you roll a d20, and then you make sure that the number is equal or less than your target number, your target goal or attribute. So stats, really. So you want it less than or equal, and that works. If it's above, then you fail. So pretty simple, pretty straightforward. A lot of systems use that concept, so it's nothing too complicated or different. So now the best part, how do you make a character? So again, pretty simple. You have 6 stats or attributes, again, depending on what word you prefer, it's the same thing. So you have 6, so you roll, make a number for each. Generally use 2d8s, but if you roll a 15 or a 16, a high number, then the next stat, you'll roll 2d6s. You don't want to be too overpowerful just for balance purposes. So you can follow that if you want to, or just d6s. And then you set up your hit die and your mental die as well. So you have two different ones, mental or physical. So those are two separate things. That's kind of unique about this, which I thought was really cool to have two. I guess it just depends on your attributes and how you set them up and match them up. So then once you've set up your stats, then that's where you're going to pick class, whatever best fits your character. As you can see, there's multiple ones here. They have contractors, mercs, freaks, puppets, sharks, and spiders. I think I really like that they're so unique, but they make sense. Spiders. I was like, interesting, very different name. But it's more like a thief, so it's more like a rogue, somebody who steals, breaks in, trespasses, that sort of thing. So they named them spiders, whereas sharks are more like con artist, use charm, more manipulative, that sort of thing. So just different. Most of them really make sense. Contractors, obviously, are just regular, military people, former military people who work. You have mercs who are kind of like jack of all trades, I guess. And then you have the freaks, which of course are hackers, or someone who's really good with hacking through the network. And then you have puppets, which is really unique. It's AI, so they actually have AI involved. And you can, physically move that. It's a little bit different. It's not a human, so I think that's a pretty unique class. So that's cool. So again, you can pick whichever one you want for your character. And I'm going to show you one example. So let's say you picked a class to make your character. So I decided to pick puppets. So you're going to start resilience. So see how much resilience you have. And puppets seem pretty low. And then you're going to throw for your starting money. So how much money do you start with? Put that down. And then you have a few special abilities. So that depends on your class. Each one has unique abilities of what they can do, so each one is different. So obviously I have mine up there. And as you can see, there's a table. So really there's two different columns. One is quirks, so something kind of unique and odd about your character, so you can throw for that and pick one of those to make your character a little bit more unique, weird, off. This is kind of helpful to add some more flavor to your character in this setup. And then the second one is related to something unique that you own, something that you have with you. So you pick those, and then you're good to go pretty much. The last thing about your character is you need to pick 3 goals. And those 3 goals are very important for the game. That's how your character levels up, really. So you have 3, and the rules has to be 2 external, 1 internal. The external just means doing something for other people, like a job, or, whatever. And then the one internal is my goal, something for myself, kind of a passion, something that I want to hit. So as you're going through, if you achieve one of those goals, then you will get a level up. And then once you've done a goal, you can replace it with something else. So that's kind of how that works with the goal system and leveling up. So very interesting, not XP, not points. So I guess it's a little bit more motivational that you want to level up. So you really want to try to get these goals and then you get to level up, which is really nice. So it's an interesting perspective on the level up. I really like that. So how do you fight? Combat. Again, very simple, at least in my opinion. I think it makes sense. So first, of course, you start with initiative, as always. That's the first thing you need to figure out. But you kind of just have to use common sense rules. If someone were to ambush, surprise, or show up behind someone, then of course you get a bonus turn before deciding initiative. Decide what you want to do, either, PC or NPC, whoever you approach, they get, you get 1 turn and then decide initiative from there on. So when deciding initiative, it's pretty simple. It just has the rules you need to do an agility check. So roll a d20, try to get equal or less than number. So really how you split that initiative is you have 3. So whoever goes first, who passes the agility check, yay, I passed. So you go, and then NPC is in the middle, or who's ever fighting against. And then whoever failed the agility check will go last. So it's pretty simple. Pass, go ahead, NPC, and then whoever fails, go. And I'm assuming if there's several players that all pass, then you can make an agreement as to who goes first. really shouldn't be that complicated. Just kind of do whatever makes sense in that story, or you can use whoever had the highest check, the highest number, do it that way. So again, it just really depends. So what do you do during the fight? Pretty simple. You have 2 actions. Do that during your turn. Do something, hit them, move, grab an item, whatever makes sense to you in that character. There are some examples, but again, you can just be creative with this game, and the GM can go ahead and decide whatever makes sense for those actions. Once those 2 actions are done, then you go to whoever's next. And what I really like about this is, as you can see, it has some examples, and there's rules on the bottom, and there's examples of what it looks like during play, which is really nice just to show how to apply the rules. So I really like that. Not a lot of RPG games do that. So I think that this is really a great way to clearly explain how the rules work by giving an example during play. So you just kind of understand better. People just kind of get how that application works and how they can utilize those rules, and examples are great. So I really love that. So how does damage work? Because you might have noticed that each character doesn't really have HP. They don't have health points. So you just use your dice. So it depends on a hit dice, physical and mental. Remember, you have 2. So when you decide there's a hit, you're going to roll the dice. For example, let's say it was a D8. Roll it. If you hit 1 or 2, that means that your hit dice goes down to a D6. If it's a 3 or above, then you're safe. If it goes down, then it could go down to a D4, and that's when you die. So that's how that works. So again, the admin will let you know if it's a physical hit or a mental hit. It could be either one, and whichever one you roll, if it becomes smaller, down to a D4, then you die. And I remember if I told you there's a resilience. And so that's where you can spend your resilience points to avoid having to throw for, seeing if it's going to be a lesser, smaller or not. You can avoid that by using the resilience. So seems kind of a high risk situation. If you could die, it's kind of lethal. You could easily get down to a D4, from a D6. So if you don't have any resilience and you throw a 1 or a 2, then you're dead. And also, if you hit 1 and it goes down, then you have to re-roll again. So a 1 is considered the worst. If it goes down, you have to re-roll again, and then roll again, and then you're done. So, this is a dangerous world. So, next chapter is, what can I steal? Really, this is talking more about the equipment that characters can have. So it kind of gives you a better idea of what you can do with your character. So each character is going to start with 1 weapon, armor, a deck, which a deck is really how you connect to the internet. So what equipment do you use to connect? So that's a deck. And then you're going to have additional, I think, 7 slots for your equipment, and that's all you can have on you. So it's a lot of things that you have to try to manage. If you have too much, then you have to get rid of something and kind of balance out and figure what you need and be wise about your equipment that you have with you. So now, as you can see, here's the list of weapons. It's pretty basic. You're going to throw and see what you start with. So that's pretty cool. There's a good variety. And one of the things I really like about this is you have a risk for a drawback. So if you look on the very last column, some of them, if you throw a specific number, you will get a drawback, meaning you have to throw on the drawback table and see what negative consequence that you get. So they're not all, perfect and great. So it kind of makes sense, because some of those weapons, if they're modified or something like that, they might work and they might not. So that's pretty nice. And armor is kind of the same concept. There's quite a variety there. I'm not going to touch on that because, it's a pretty similar concept. But I do want to show you the decks. So I think the decks is cool because it's kind of old school, more retro things. So each one is going to affect how you are able to navigate the net. So for example, there's a tape deck. So when you have the tape deck, you have to have a soundtrack on the entire time. Like you have to be listening to it in the background the whole time that you're going. So I don't know, that's kind of cool. There's a lot of unique environmental impacts as well. So I just thought that was really creative. I like that a lot. So one of the really cool parts is the net. And in this game, the net reminds me a lot of like Tron or, um, the book Necromancer. I think that more inspired like from the Matrix. I feel that that's kind of, I don't know, like it's like you're immersed in another virtual world. You can kind of just do whatever you want, but it still has consequences. And depending how you connect, because remember, depending on what deck you use, then you're going to have different ways of how you navigate, and that can impact what you can do in the net. Plus, also, technically, you don't die in the net, but if your net body or whatever's in there dies, it still does impact you because then you'll kind of get kicked out, and you'll kind of be almost like in a coma for a certain amount of time. So it does have negative effects, but it's not like you're going to die in there. You won't. But just small, small effects, not bad. And the place is really, like I said, it has a lot of different types of environments. So you can be where maybe it's just for trading information or navigating, trying to find information, trying to find hacks, or it could be a totally different environment of something to just enjoy. So, and of course, there's other people there too that you interact with. So it's a very unique concept. Again, very inspired by the movie that I mentioned before. So it reminds me a lot of those sort of movies. So that's cool. And the next part is called admin advice. So this is for the GM. It's just a short chapter, pretty simple, straightforward. It gives some good advice, more related to the type of setup and what it's going to look like in this game. What sort of tech, is it easy? How are things going to impact your characters and how you should manage the characters and their goals and try to, work that out in session and during play. So just some nice kind of tips, different advice if you want to run this sort of game. So really simple, sure, nothing too extensive. So I think it's really good. And if this is the first time that you've ever been a GM, you might need more advice from this. But if you've been a GM and you just need a little bit of advice, this is good for just knowing how to set up and run this game. So I think that's really good. The next part is focusing on random tables. So this has a lot, I think over 20 pages worth of tables. So all just sort of random tables like NPC, location, gangs, different gangs, what their purpose is, even just drinks and really random stuff. It's cool. I read through it and I really like it. It's just really useful and kind of inspirational as you're playing the game. If you need to kind of find something, you have everything right there. Lots of different tables that you can look for. It's great. Really, really well done. I really like that they provided a lot of that just because it makes it easier to be inspired and kind of pick something and go along in your game. It's great. So on this page, you're going to see on the top, it has what was this system inspired by, like from who designed it. And as I was reading through, some of it makes sense. Of course, Mothership, duh, hello. Black Hack, of course, because this really is heavily inspired by that system, kind of design hack from that. There's a lot of different movies, but I was really surprised it didn't include things like Tron or Matrix, Blade Runner, those sort of things. I feel like definitely I could see how that would match with this game, but it didn't mention them, so hey, I respect them. So some of us surprised, some not so much, where they got the inspiration, but still, all of them are really great. Okay, and of course, the character sheets. I think these are really well designed, very simple, straightforward. You can easily follow it. You can make your character, put all of your items in. your attributes, the character's name, their class, weapons, armor, deck, all of that, and then all the rest of the items that you have, your different goals are on the bottom, so everything is right there where you need it on one sheet. So very simple. I think that this is great. This is really easy to use. So overall, I think this is awesome. I mean, the artwork is beautiful, the coloring is great, the layout is awesome, all of the information and how they display it is great. It's very easy to follow, easy to read. It's just good. I'm really looking forward to trying to run this game, hopefully sometime in the future. And I think that all the details are there. I don't think there's any sort of confusion, any time that you wouldn't understand what's going on. I think it's going to be really easy to run. It's great. If you like more of a light rule sort of game, cyberpunk, then this is definitely for you. Give it a try. Love it. So, my review overall, 2 thumbs up. Solid. Really great. Totally worth it. Get a copy of this if you like this sort of setup. So, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you liked my video, go ahead and subscribe or follow me or like on YouTube and Facebook. I do have other social media. Look down below in the description, and you can follow me on all of those. I have all different sorts of content for you. And if you want to support me in other ways, you can check out my Patreon. It starts at just $1 a month. That's all, something really simple, just $1 a month, and then it has different levels up from there. You can decide what perks that you want and click there, or if you prefer a one-time tip, you can just do a one-time donation and use the buymeacoffee.com. I really love coffee, so I always appreciate any tip, anything that gets me coffee.